Alright, so this is the second video about this one change. Um, so in the last video, I resolved the merge conflict. In this one, we're taking a look at what has gone with the changes. And so the first thing I want to point out is that this kind of stuff happens all the time. So don't think this is like a whatever, like me complaining or whatever. The second thing is I want to emphasize that GitHub and Git tries to provide you with a lot of tools to help you fix things. So the first thing I want to show is on the pull request. It'll give you a history of kind of the changes. So here the branch title or the pull request is about it's just actually a pre-generated title, but the linked issue is this one assigned to BOA to add the credits. And so that is helpful for me to know because this pull request should resolve this, right? It's specifically about the credits. And I see that had been, that had been resolved. So if I go to this commit, we see exactly what we want. There's an next fix there, and then that function there. Now, I think what happened is that someone else hopped onto this branch and added their credits as well. But what they should have done is put it on their branch instead. So how do I fix this? The main process I'm going to do is to use something called cherry picking, which is basically to yoink a commit out and put it onto a different branch. And I'll go ahead and do this for this person. So this is the credits. I can look at this commit here. And that looks about right. So they added their credits here, and then they updated the function. They did end up committing something from the merge conflict. So it looks like maybe they tried to merge from main, and then got lost, a little bit lost. That's totally fine. We'll fix that. We actually fixed that in the last video when we were dealing with the merge conflict. So this pull request could technically be merged, but I'm going to be extra and get people to use their own branches. So we're going to basically, what we want to do is to take this commit and yoink it out of this pull request and put it onto the other a different pull request. Now, in doing so, we might have some issues because I went ahead and fixed a merge conflict to to basically the sum of both of these changes. So we might get into some fun issues later. But for now, let's hope that doesn't happen. So this looks like the correct issue assigned to the right person. We don't have a branch. That makes sense because that branch, if there was a branch, it would have had a change like this. So let's go ahead and create that branch. So I've created the branch. I'm going to go into VS Code. I'm going to get out of here. And then I'm going to paste in that stuff. If you don't want to use the command line at all, you can always just go into this down arrow and then look for the branch. In this case, it's 54. So the next thing I'm going to do is to refresh my memory on how to do a cherry pick. Now the nice thing is that we're just taking one commit. So first thing, Git has a nice website and their documentation is actually pretty good. So let's figure out how to do it. So the thing basically is when you're dealing with like managing commits and whatever, we want to know the hash or like the ID basically for it. In this case, it's the C57 whatever. And then we need to think, do we want to change the message or the author or whatever? In this case, no, we actually want to preserve that. So in this case, I think we just do git cherry pick and then the commit. Doot, doot, doot. Okay, let's give this a go. And it's not obvious operating change, but we're gonna just try the cherry pick and see what happens. We'll go here. This is the full commit hash. Usually you can just give it like the first few whatever, but I like to be extra. So we'll go here. Another thing to note is that I don't think, can it do cherry pick? Well, it can do a lot of changes. Maybe we under change. No. I'll just look into the commands. Oh, we can do app-get-lens, which is like another extension, but VS Code itself does a cherry pick. So let's see how this works. In this case, I'll just paste the hash. I'll hit enter, and it says you can do it. And why it couldn't do it probably is because it's going to face a merge conflict, just as we did in the last video. So let's look at it. So we can see the changes. You can see it looks fairly ugly. And actually, one of the tricky bits is that, remember when we looked at that commit, it included some stuff that shouldn't have been, right? Oh, sorry, I just dragged my window there. So that's going to be a challenge, but not to worry. We will just click resolve the merge editor, and we will remember that to deal with a merge conflict, we just need to know what we want. And in this case, what we want is the Nimish credits. And hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And so in this case, we just want to accept the status changes. We don't really care about this change. Well, actually, we do, because this branch originally did have that. So yeah, so we would want to accept. Oh, actually, there's two pieces of changes. So let's focus on the top, because hopefully that's easier. So in this case, we want to accept a combination. I believe. Says conflict of combination. Okay, yeah. Oh, I think it tried to be clever and it didn't pay off. So in this case, I'm just looking down here. Because the commit included Boa's changes, I'm actually going to manually delete that and get rid of the function call here. And then in this case, it's going to be a manual resolution, I believe. But that's fine. We'll just do that. Why is go square? You know what? I'm going to restart. I think I reset. I'm just wondering, oh, that's there. Okay, that we want, and then accept combination, and we're gonna remove these bits that we didn't want, and I think that is good. So again, we're going to test it manually. For some reason, we'll just open a terminal here. How do I get a new set? Toggle terminal. There we go. And I will do the same thing. So .NET run. And I'm expecting 3 sets of credits. And yes. So 2 things I'm looking for. One, obviously, that it still compiles and it's not some like weird errors there, right? You can think in this case, on this change, it would not compile because it has like, C# doesn't know what to do with that. The second thing, of course, after it compiles and runs, that it's doing the thing that we want it to do. Now, you notice that I was sure to include the ghost credits as well. And that's because that change already exists on our main. So if I go to the app, and then I go to credits in our main branch, my computer is extremely slow, so I do apologize. We can see on main, we have the 2 sets of credits. So I still want to preserve that because if you recall, we just created this branch to incorporate to do the cherry pick. But since we just created this branch, that branch should have been created with this change already set. So I can go ahead and click complete merge. And even though I said complete merge, I still have a chance before committing to do any last minute checks, which sometimes is helpful because it doesn't have the weird highlighting from the merge conflict. And it looks good to me. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweak the commit message to reference this issue. And the reason why I do that is just because if we were to go back onto like main and then look at the commit history, this title wouldn't be super helpful for us. So instead, I'm going to do something like resolves number 54. And just do a double check that 54 is our commit. And so I can hit commit. I can hit sync changes. And if I refresh, you can see that I push a commit that references now. And the thing I also want to highlight is that 1, the commit hash changed, and 2, the author is retained. So this is the helpful thing with cherry picking, is that it still retains the authors as much as it can. I think in this case it does like a little co-author moment, but this is still helpful because if I was to just like manually create this branch and then manually copy and paste the code over, then my name would be the only person that shows should be showed as the author, which is technically not true. So that is why I did a cherry commit. There is a way to like manually set authors otherwise, but sometimes if you're dealing with like lots of changes from lots of authors, then that's harder to do. So now we got our pull request. In this case, this pull request is auto-generated for us by GitHub Actions. In typical repos, you might create one yourself, but in this case, I made one that did it for you. And I can go into not the checks, but the files changed, and you can see that now we have a nice, neat change history. And so now I can click ready to review. And then I'll just do my review process, and all should be good. The other thing I will just quickly mention is because we took the changes from this pull request and put it onto another one, even though we did the cherry pick and we said it's like yoinking out the change actually stays on both, which is helpful because like you don't want to just like move it specifically. It's always nice to like just copy it. So the last thing I'll show off here is going back to the 33 branch, which has everyone's changes on. What I can do now is a rebase to basically remove these commits, and it should work. I shouldn't have anything to worry about because the commit hashes are different. So it's not like I'll remove these commits and then this commit will get deleted. Though I don't know if I've done this before. So in this case, I'll do git rebase, and it'll have to load. Now the next thing I'll do is a -i, so that means interactive. Generally, Git, if you don't do the -i, Git will just go ahead and do it, for you without prompting you for anything. I don't really like that. So in this case, what we want to do is a rebase of the head. This is kind of getting too technical bit, so if you want to drop off, that's totally fine. But basically what we want to do is go back in time 2 commits and remove them. So in Git, there's a special term it uses called head, which is basically like the current change you're at now. And then I can do this little squiggly, and I want to go back 2 commits basically and remove them. In this case, I'm actually going to do 4 because since it's interactive, it'll show me the 4 commits, and so it's kind of nice to go back in time a little bit further than what you actually need to do, because it gives you more context, and you just kind of leave the 2 remaining as is. So I'll hit enter, and this is the interactive bit. So remember, if you go to the pull request, we can see there's the 96C, that's the one I did, and then the C57, and then what was this, the B38. So we want to just keep up to the B38, and we can see here is the B38. And so it was nice that I went back 4 because, and it will show me 5 actually, because it gives me a bit more, it kind of gives me more context. So this is the one I want to keep. This is the C57, so that's this commit. And then this is there's a 90 CA7744. I believe, oh, you know what? I can actually check this. CA, I wonder why it different. And why the C57 is not, oh, the C57 is there. Interesting. Well, what I'm going to do is, here we can see the commands. So by default, we pick, which basically just leave as is. You can reword it, edit it, squash it. So squashing is nice if you say want to combine a bunch of commits together. So this, I expect to use this later on, but say if someone was doing this credits ticket and then they make like 1,000 commits for some reason, I can squash them so that they only appear as 1. In this case, I want to actually drop the commit. There's some other stuff like label and recent, whatever. But I feel like the ones I always use are particularly like it'll be pick, often used because I go back further than I need to. So I'll always pick a few. I like to squash things. I usually use rebasing for squashing commits together. Basically, combines them. And then in this case, I'm going to be dropping some because I don't want them to be on this branch. So I'll just do D. I could also do drop. So I could write this as drop. But I still want that B38, and I want everything before that. So that would be the 172. And then I drop this one. I put a D here, but that stands for drop, so get treats this and this is the same thing. And then this will also be a D. And then I'll just save this file. So this is basically a text file that Git gives you, and then you edit it, and then Git reads it to figure out what to do. So I'm doing it in the terminal, but you can do this. And I think Git can just make you do this like in VS Code, like as a file tab. But I like to be fancy. So I'll do WQ to save this. And it was successful. And you notice here, now VS Code is like, hey, do you want to sync some changes? And that makes sense because we deleted these future changes. So Git is basically saying, hey, you're at here. Do you want to download these new changes? And we don't. We actually want to remove them from GitHub side as well. So what can we do? We can do this thing called a push, which if I just run it normally, it's gonna fail because it's like, hey, your current branch is behind, right? Again, it wants to pull changes down. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do git push -- force, which is basically gonna say, hey GitHub, take this. Don't worry about what you know. This is the truth. And so let's do that. It was a forced update. And now this nice source graph, it shows this. So if I refresh this page, with the exception of a conflict, because which we're basically gonna have to resolve the same conflict again. You can see that the message changes are gone, and if I refresh here, we're safe, right? The changes are still right. We cherry picked it off, put it onto a new branch, and then all is good. Now, if you go back here, it still says that there's a merge conflict. So what can we do? Well, we're gonna have to do the same process as we did before. Did not do this in the maybe the best way, but that's fine. So how do we? How do we resolve the conflict? What we want to do is git merge main. Let's actually see if open pull request. Oh, actually, no, that's going to open it on GitHub. Yeah, I'm ready on there. Let's see if it. Let me trigger it to pull the most recent. No. Okay, so we'll do it with the command line. What we want to do is merge the current changes from the main branch, right, the most recent, the final copy, into this pull request, so that when you do the pull request and finally merge it back to main, it's very up to date. So to do that, I'll do git merge main, and we trigger a pull request, a merge conflict. And this should be expected because we just resolved it in the last video, so we're gonna have to do it again. I don't know why that is. Sometimes VS Code is a little finicky. So we'll open this from the source control tab and then click resolve conflicts. So what we'll do is we want to again accept combination because we want Ghost credits. This is from main, and we want Boas credits. And then if you scroll down, you want to accept both. And you notice Git tried to be smart and to put the commas in right spot, but it's actually in the wrong spot. So we're going to have to do a bit of manual tweaking. And we can do complete merge. And then if I was to open up a terminal and do .NET run, we should see one, that it compiles. That's like a good smoke test. And two, we also want to see that it is doing the right thing, which is printing 3 credits. Right? Because on main, we had 2 credits, and Boa added hers, so now we got 3 credits. And my computer is behaving very slow. There we go. So there you have it. All good. And I think this change is from the merge conflict as well. So I'll hit commit. And I'll click refresh here. Oh, you know what? I think so. I think it. And you notice we did a bunch of work and a bunch of changes, but it was all for a good reason, because now we have 2 merge requests that for the reviewers, which would be me, it's nice and easy, right? So, you know, the highlighted green portion is just what Nimesh did. It's not, you know, even though we were dealing with Ghost credits, it's you know, and the same with Boas. It's just the changes from main. It's not anything new, which is good, right? So even though there was that mention of a wiki page, we didn't have to worry about it. So nice. And you can see here, everything is nice and orderly. The participants is just Boa and myself. And same in here. It's actually just Nimesh. Right, this is the pull request, right? Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm just listed as a contributor, but here I merged that. So the reason why Nimesh is just a contributor here is because there was no merge conflict, and he's like the primary author on this commit, and I'm just a contributor. On this one, Bo still authored her commit, but I authored the one that did the merge. And the last question, and this I'll ask the question and then answer it. So to put your thinking caps on, why did Boa's pull request have a merge conflict but not Nimesh's? So you can pause the video if you want. But if you're impatient, the answer is because Nimesh recreated this branch like in this video, so right from main. So we know that it was like very fresh and up to date. So when I did the cherry pick, I was cherry picking a commit from a different branch onto one that was essentially main, right? It was like it's exactly up to date with main. What probably happened with this with Boas is that Boa probably made her branch a little bit before, and probably before the changes with parts, right? The ghost credits got merged, right? And so that ended up with our situation that we described here, where I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this or to illustrate this, but imagine if okay, I'll use black, but pardon my terrible drawing because I don't want it to take too long. But imagine there was a commit here, maybe there was something merged here, and yeah, actually I'll just draw a new diagram. Imagine we have this is our main branch, and imagine we had I'll draw some circles as well. Imagine we had, you know, our commits, whatever, 3 of them. Boa made her branch from this one, so that it was Boa's commit. I don't know why it's so small. And so was Parith. I don't know if I should use people's for full name, for real names, or their GitHub names. I'll use GitHub names because I'm gonna get confused otherwise. So Boa made her change. So did Ghosts. I flip this. Flip. Here we go. So they both made the changes from the same branch. Then I'm just gonna copy this. So then Ghost made his change, and then merged it back into main. Actually, don't need this. Right. So all is good. There was no merge conflicts with Ghost, right? Because there was nothing in between, right? So between this commit and this commit, there was no changes in between. And just before I talk about both changes, remember in this video we made the change the branch for the mesh, right? So again, I will bring this down here, and so then this was for the mesh. The mesh made his change, and now we're in the spot of the 2 pull requests. So for the mesh to merge his change back to main, it's just like Ghost, right? There's nothing in between you know, this commit and this commit. So we can just merge the main. There won't be any things. But now let's look at Boa. So Boa made a change with Ghost, but then Ghost merges to main. So for Boa to merge hers to main, it would have to take place a little bit later, right? We can't merge it to this because that commit has already happened. So it will have to be merged kind of elsewhere, like up here, let's say. And so there's this change behind it technically, right? So for Boa to merge a change in, there's a change behind it, and that change modified the same file. So let's see if I can, because this isn't a real commit yet. So I'll do that, and then I'll do this just to be fancy. Yeah, here we go. So this commit does not exist yet. I'll do that. Or there we go. So this commit doesn't exist yet. This is basically like where GitHub says, hey, merge conflict, like alert, you have to figure out what to do. And so that's why we had it. That's why Git would not just let us merge it straight. So how did we fix this? Well, we took the commit from here and we merged it into Boa's branch first. Let's do that. Right. So we did this merge commit, basically saying, hey, let's just incorporate the changes onto the branch itself. And then now look, for us to merge back, easy peasy, there's no changes in between. Now, sometimes you won't face that problem. Truthfully, you shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't. But because everyone's doing the credit ticket, everyone is trying to edit the same file, and so that's where we get the issues. And so now, here's the further expansion we can think of is either Nimesh or Boa is going to merge their changes first. It's going to be up to me to decide. I believe whenever someone merges their changes in, the next person is going to face a merge conflict because, again, it's modifying the same file. And there will be like an extra change in here that now when Nimesh wants to merge, oh, there's a change. Can Git resolve that change easily? No, because it's on the same file in the same place. So that is that situation here. And this whole diagram ignores the whole thing we did with the cherry picking. So it can get very complicated, but hopefully we see the benefit of it, which is when we do it correctly and we get into the pull request stage and at the review stage, that's easy to review, right? It's super easy to review, and we could reject either one of these pull requests, and it's not like it's like, oh, well, this pull request has a bunch of different changes. I actually opened the wrong one. It's really like, this has Bo's changes, Bo's credits. This has Nimesh's credits. So yeah, very kind of interesting, like, and there's like certainly nuance. But that's why I made this video. I'm not expecting everyone to just kind of hop on board to figure out how to resolve all this, because for me, actually, this was some new stuff that I just learned on the fly. But hopefully, I'll encounter these types of issues. I'll make these types of videos. People can review them if they want. And once you hit your first merge conflict, it's not going to be this difficult. And again, just think, I'll open VS Code. I'll do, if I need to, I'll do git merge main. And then I'll just think, what do I want the files to ultimately look like? And if it comes down to manual editing, we saw that that's totally fine. Just afterwards, I can just run like a few tests. In this case, I just ran the program once because it's a very simple one. But if you're familiar with unit tests or whatever, you could run those. But that's a topic for another day. With that, I'm going to end this video. I'm going to deal with merging both of these to main and probably deal with the merge conflict that results from it. But otherwise, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you.